This is USMLE QA, USMLE material presented in a question and answer format structured similar to the first aid for the USMLE Step 1 book.
Question: what does P and Q represent in population genetics? Answer: P and Q represent the frequencies of alleles and A, respectively, in a population. Question: what is the frequency of homozygosity for allele A? Answer: the frequency of homozygosity for allele A is P2. Question: what is the frequency of homozygosity for allele A? Answer: the frequency of homozygosity for allele A is Q2. Question: what is the frequency of heterozygosity? Answer: the frequency of heterozygosity is 2pq. Question: what is the sum of the frequencies of genotypes? Answer: the sum of the frequencies of genotypes is p2 plus 2pq plus q2 equals 1. Question: what is the frequency of an X-linked recessive disease in males? Answer: the frequency of an X-linked recessive disease in males is q. Question: what is the frequency of an X-linked recessive disease in females? Answer: the frequency of an X-linked recessive disease in females is Q2. Question: what are the Hardy-Weinberg law assumptions? Answer: the Hardy-Weinberg law assumptions include no mutation occurring at the locus, natural selection is not occurring, completely random mating, no net migration, and large population. Question: what happens to the values of P and Q in a population in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Answer: if a population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, the values of P and Q remain constant from generation to generation. Question: what is Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Answer: Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is a theoretical concept that describes the genetic makeup of a population under certain conditions. Under these conditions, the frequencies of different alleles and genotypes in a population will remain constant from generation to generation. Question: what is the significance of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium in population genetics? Answer: Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium provides a baseline for understanding genetic variation in a population. It allows researchers to detect deviations from equilibrium and to infer the presence of evolutionary forces such as mutation, selection, migration, and genetic drift that may be shaping the genetic makeup of a population. Question: what are the conditions that are required to achieve Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Answer: the conditions that are required to achieve Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium include no mutation, no selection, random mating, no migration, and a large population size. Question: how is the frequency of a particular allele in a population determined? Answer: the frequency of a particular allele in a population is determined by the proportion of individuals in the population who carry that allele. It is calculated by dividing the number of individuals with the allele by the total number of individuals in the population. Question: why is a large population size important for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Answer: a large population size is important for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium because it reduces the effects of genetic drift, which is a random process that can change the frequency of alleles in a small population. In a large population, genetic drift is less likely to have a significant impact on the frequencies of alleles, allowing the population to maintain Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Question: what are the consequences of a population deviating from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Answer: a population deviating from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium can indicate that one or more of the assumptions of the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium are not met, such as natural selection or genetic drift. This deviation can also cause changes in the frequency of certain genetic disorders or diseases within the population. Question: can the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium be observed in real populations? Answer: the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is a theoretical concept and it is unlikely that any real populations will meet all of the assumptions required to achieve Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. However, it can be used as a theoretical baseline to compare to real-world populations and detect deviations from equilibrium. Question: how can researchers determine if a population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Answer: researchers can determine if a population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium by comparing the observed frequencies of alleles and genotypes in a population to the expected frequencies under Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. If the observed frequencies match the expected frequencies, the population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Question: what is the relationship between the frequency of an allele and the frequency of the corresponding genotype? Answer: the relationship between the frequency of an allele and the frequency of the corresponding genotype can be described by the Hardy-Weinberg equation. The frequency of a homozygous genotype is equal to the square of the frequency of the corresponding allele. The frequency of the heterozygous genotype is equal to twice the product of the frequency of the two alleles. Question: how can can researchers use Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium to infer evolutionary forces? Answer: researchers can use deviations from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium to infer the presence of evolutionary forces such as mutation, selection, migration, and genetic drift. For example, if the frequency of a particular allele is increasing or decreasing over time, it may indicate the presence of natural selection. Similarly, if the frequencies of different alleles in a population are not in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, it may indicate the presence of migration or genetic drift. Question: what is the difference between an autosomal recessive disease and an X-linked recessive disease? Answer: an autosomal recessive disease is a disease that is caused by a mutation on one of the 22 pairs of autosomes and is inherited in a recessive manner. A person needs to inherit 2 copies of the mutant allele, one from each parent, to develop the disease. An X-linked recessive disease is a disease that is caused by a mutation on the X chromosome and is inherited in a recessive manner. A person needs to inherit 1 copy of the mutant allele from a mother and 1 from father to develop the disease.
Thank you for watching our Q&A format video. We hope this helped you learn, review, and retain knowledge needed for the USMLEs. For more information on this topic, check out the link in the description. Now, if you want to take your USMLE prep to the next level, be sure to check out all our courses, which are structured to follow along with the First Aid for the USMLE Step 1 book. You can find us at usmleqa.com. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe.